Mike Brown afterwards, he didn't get asked about playing Alex Len, but it was very clear that they played Alex Len kind of bolster the physicality and kind of just get a different look to match the size that Minnesota has. But he mentioned after the game that, if you recall, the one time they beat Minnesota this season, they were allowed to play small because Trey Lyles was really hitting it from deep in that game. And the only reason they won in overtime. It wasn't even in regulation.
Yeah, you're right.
The Kings can obviously learn from this like any game. Maybe if they play Minnesota, they maybe want to try to go small because it didn't is as decent and as adequate as Alex Len looked. He's not like changing the game, and he's not even making it seem like he's going to be the backup center. Nowhere close to that. But the question is like, is that something you can rely on going small?
I didn't, necessarily hate Alex Len's minutes on Monday. I thought he was a good matchup for Gobert, and as a backup for Sabonis in that position, just like he probably would be against Jokic against Denver. I kind of like Len out there against the bigger bodies more so than Metu. But then you bring up a good point too, where Lyles was that backup five in that overtime period against Minnesota, where he was knocking down threes and kind of made Gobert not useless as a defender, but kind of because he had to play off, away from the paint, which he's not used to, and Lyles made him pay for it. So, you want to go small if you can, but that relies on Lyles being able to knock down shots, right? Reliable Lyles. Will he be reliable in that situation? And so it doesn't hurt to go big in that sense, but Lynn is definitely that backup center big where he can only go against those bigger guys and guys he can keep up with on the floor. Yeah, he's not. Gobert and I don't know if probably Jokic probably isn't faster than him, but then you have Metu for maybe those smaller guys inside. I don't know. I kind of just like Lyles as the backup five, really. Then it's like, who's your backup four? And just all these questions arise. It's just a mess.
But that's
they need
where
a backup five.
The playoffs is just gonna shrink the rotation down, I would imagine.
It has to.
And you're looking at a situation where you really only want to play your 8 or 9 best players. Thinking about the playoffs, it's just like they're gonna have to go small. I do think Lynn played well. Like, just to give Lynn credit, I was questioning whether Lynn even belongs in the league at the All-Star break. Crucify me for that, jeez. But he clearly has some value in terms of the fact that, like, yeah, he's a traditional shot blocker, but his 2 blocks both came in the fourth quarter. If you go back and watch those, take away the fact that he blocked the ball. It was just really nice retreat backpedal and then being able to go up vertical and just using his 7-footer status to disrupt shots, and he just happened to get a hand on both of them. I think he played well in that regard. I think he got an early foul, but other than that, he was pretty solid. I think he only had 1 foul. Obviously, an imposing presence. The issue becomes, once you put Len out there, you're kind of conceding that you're going to play the other team's game. And I don't think that that's not a good thing. Like, Len gave you a chance, but this is why I think it's so important that Chimezie Metu play well. And that sounds silly because he's not really the most reliable option as a backup 5 or let alone an NBA player at times. But, he's shown a lot this season. And part of that, and I guess maybe the best way of looking at it, is that he kind of allows the Kings to play the way they want to play. He runs the floor really well. He's not a terrible defender in terms of kind of doing the types of things that Mike Brown wants to do. He at least seems intent on doing the right things and has the athleticism and enough kind of verticality and length to, follow through with that. And kind of talking about that running the floor thing, that becomes really good in the second unit amongst those guys. And I just think that when he's playing his best and when he's actually fulfilling that backup 5 role, he's got the team kind of in a good place rotationally. Now, it gets sticky in terms of his reliability, especially when it comes to the playoffs. I don't
know. It'll be interesting to see what Brown does. 'Cause the best option, I'm not saying the best option, but like You would think Lyles, because he's your best player as that backup 5. Maybe not your best player as a backup 5, but he's your best player out of Metu and Len. Do you think you'd have him out there? But then, I don't know, it's confusing. I think we'll see Metu in the playoffs. I don't know, it's weird. I don't know, he's like not playing now.
It's like based on matchups, because if the Kings play the Warriors in the first round, I think damn for sure you're going to see Metu. Because Metu he got himself on the map, rotationally speaking, against the Warriors. And again, this is where I'm like, damn it. I know you don't want Chimezie Metu shooting threes. I know it was never really a realistic thing to rely on. And there's Chimezie Metu fans out there that say, you just wait. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't have that much time on my hands. But
yeah, exactly.
It would be so big if he could hit threes. Or at least be a little convincing. Granted, I'll give him credit. I think we've only seen him force like a handful of threes this season. Like, it's really low. As opposed to when you were watching him last season, it's like every opportunity he had to put up a three, he would do it. But I don't know. I'm just complaining at this point. I'm just listing all the discrepancies with the personnel behind Sabonis for the 5.
Yeah, it's bad. And it's funny because Metu, when we even brought him in, I don't even remember when we brought Metu in. Was it during the pandemic? He's been on this team for a minute. It's definitely the most play he's ever gotten. But it's like he kind of went from like a stretch 4 to like a backup 5 who like regularly shoots threes. So his role's changed, and like I applaud him for that because he's not a stretch 4. No matter, I don't even know why anyone thought he was the way he shoots the ball. It's terrible. But yeah, and like of course it'd be great if he made him, but he doesn't, and so the less he takes, I'm happy with it. And you can't really change that in the playoffs, unfortunately. I mean, it'd be huge if he just became like automatic or deep, but I think we've seen Metu enough in Sacramento to know, even though we want to say he's a stretch big, he's really not. And calling him a stretch big is more of like a liability.
Yeah. It's untimely that the backup 5 talk has all of a sudden accelerated to the front of the discourse again.
But it is weird that Metu kind of just disappeared, considering he was the go-to all year.
My theory is, like, do you remember it was like the end of December, he lost his job and then he got it back in like the second week of January? And I think for those first several games back, he played with kind of like a renewed sense of, I don't want to say purpose, but he kind of had like a clear-eyed view of what his place was on the floor, what he does well, and what he can do well to help this team. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like, let's just try to light that fire under Chimezie. Light that fire under him. I mean, like let's not put him in against Minnesota. Let's just light that fire underneath him and see what he does against Portland.
Anything at this point.
I don't know though. That's totally speculation and went straight out my ass.
Yeah. Oh well. I don't know either. I guess we'll find out come playoff time if he plays or not. Yeah.
Stay tuned for the playoffs. I don't know if you guys were going to do that.
Yeah. Did you know we're going to probably make the playoffs?
The Kings are going to be in the playoffs.
The Kings are making the playoffs this year?
I know.
That's like our podcast. Huge.
I was doing a little bit of snooping online, and I found out that the Kings, they're on the cusp of clinching a playoff spot.
Who knew?
Unreal.
Kings about to make the playoffs. Still don't have a backup 5. Just imagine what they can do once they have a backup 5.
It's so weird because it's like a backup 5 with Sabonis. It's like that guy plays 8 to 12 minutes, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's like
a little time.
Just need you. And that's why I kind of almost buy into that little stupid theory I had that it's like they're just trying to light a fire under Chimezie Metu because that's what you want is you want that energy. You want that kind of just let it all out on the floor for those 8 minutes or whatever, because it is such a short stint.
Where did Nerlens Noel go?
Brooklyn.
What? Why would he go to Brooklyn? Whatever.